Hi gals, welcome back to another episode of Zero Waste Closet. So in this week's video, I want to talk about that cool factor and how to get it in your dressing. And so when I say cool factor, what I mean is just that edginess, that sort of je ne sais quoi, like how does she look so good? How did she do it? What's the magic trick here? Why does everything she wears look so good? Kind of factor. And there are just some women that have that, right? I mean, some of you are watching the video right now and you know who you are because I always tell you guys, you just always look so fabulous. And there are some little tips and tricks that you can incorporate into your own dressing to get that look. And there are also some kind of common styling mistakes that I see being made that get in the way of you looking really edgy. And so we're gonna look at some ideas here and some basic concepts and just some outfits that demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about. All right, gals, so when we are looking at bringing that cool factor or more edginess into your dressing, it's all gonna center around this idea of what I call contrast dressing. I've definitely talked about this for years, actually. This has always been something that informs how I style people. And the whole idea is that it does not come across as formulaic or predictable. So we're gonna look at a variety of ways that you can incorporate contrast dressing into the way that you style yourself. One of my favorite ways to incorporate contrast or unpredictability into the way I get dressed is to mix my genres, okay? So what this means is that if I'm wearing something very feminine, I want to contrast it with something a little more masculine or a little rougher around the edges. So as an example, if I'm wearing a really flirty little skirt, I typically do not like to pair it back to pretty little heels or a little ballet flat. If I'm wearing a flirty skirt, I might pair it with something more sporty like a sneaker or maybe even something like a combat boot. I mean, you can take this as far as you want to, right? So if you want to be extremely edgy in your dressing, maybe really incorporate street style into it, yeah, that combat boot's really going to resonate with you. Maybe you want to keep it a little more subtle, but you just want to look edgy. You want to look a little more natural, like I said, a little more kind of like that I don't know how she does it, je ne sais quoi look. Then popping a sneaker on with a dress is a great way of doing it. So again, mixing genres or doing something a little shabby with something very chic. So I'm going to give you an example of that is incorporated into literally one item of clothing. This is one of my favorite new jackets. This just came in from Pole. This is like a really long shirt jacket, and the fabric here is this kind of thicker plaid. It's got a roughness to it. It even has, if you can see that, like a raw edge seam running through it. So it's this really kind of almost like shabby beat up look. And then they contrasted it with a very elegant, delicate pearl. So something extremely feminine on top of something extremely rugged. So just right here in this jacket, we have a perfect example of contrast dressing and mixing genres. Another way of really bringing contrast dressing and edginess into your life is to focus on a fabric mix, right? So you don't need to match your fabrics in a way that is super predictable. In fact, it's like that unpredictability that makes it so cool. So there are so many different ways to do this. I'll show you a couple of my favorites. So one of my favorite ways to do this is to take something really silky. So as an example, I show you the celery colored little silky slip skirt, very smooth, very feminine, very satiny, and to bring something really rougher textured into it. So denim mixed with silk or satin is just so beautiful and so edgy, and again, not predictable. I'm not pairing lace back to my silk. That would just be feminine top to bottom. It would be just sort of one feeling top to bottom. Contrast dressing. So another thing I really love to do when it comes to mixing fabrics is to take something, again, this is kind of mixing genres too, and that is to take something very lacy, or let's say it's something kind of chiffon-like this little dress here from Great and Gather. I love this little mini dress. And instead of bringing something really soft in on the top that matches the softness of the dress, I love bringing some leather into the mix. And again, we're getting that whole idea of mixing genres and mixing textures. So another way that we can bring some contrast and unpredictability into our dressing is to focus on the shoes and just an unpredictable but super cool edgy shoe choice. This is such an easy way to play with your look. So as an example, again, we really are bringing that idea of mixing genres together. I might take something like this very flirty, very elegant, beautiful long dress here from Braid & Gather. Again, just an example. And in a more predictable world, we would put on maybe a little heel with this or an elegant little booty even. But in an edgier world, we might bring a lug sole boot into it like this one here from Sorel. Something that's a little unpredictable, something that is definitely kind of in the right color genre here, but it just brings in that ruggedness and mixes it with something very, very feminine. Another idea for playing with shoes is kind of like a business on the top, party on the bottom look, or you could actually reverse it, where I take something like a really great structured blazer here, like this great blazer here from Venti 6, and then wear it with, it could be a pair of jeans, it could be joggers, which would be an unpredictable thing to pair with a blazer, and then instead of popping a loafer on with it, which would again be very predictable, I take something like a high top sneaker, like these really cute ones here from Coachy, and do the kind of sporty chic mixed with business look, and it's just so cute. It's very street chic and definitely not as predictable and not made for the office look. This is just one for running around, and I love the contrast. So for this one, you kind of have to have a fine eye. This is not easy. This is something that you have to refine, maybe even get the help of a stylist or an expert. Hello over here, happy to help with this. But it is unusual and unpredictable color combinations, making your own color story that just isn't so predictable. So just as an example, I love these ochre colored, kind of almost like a pumpkin-y color joggers here, just in from Velvet Heart, the corduroy, really, really yummy. And in a more predictable world, we might just pair black or white back to it. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really great paired back to denim as well. But what about bringing in some sort of complementary color that one might not even think of, like this burnt orange shirt here? I love this, and I'll model it for you obviously so that you can kind of see. This is unusual. You've got to pair it back to a shoe that complements the whole look, but it just is that look of, I'm not dancing to the beat of everyone else's drum. I'm doing my own thing, and it's actually very appealing to the eye in a really unpredictable way. So last but not least, let's talk about accessories. So what can we do with accessories that is extremely pleasing to the eye and yet very unpredictable? Again, we're back to mixing genres, we're maybe back to mixing colors. So let's start with something like handbags. I really like the idea of mixing shapes. So taking something very structured and pairing it with something super unstructured. So an example of that would be a very sporty chic look, kind of just super loungy, super soft, super easy, no structure, and then pulling in something like a really structured, very angular handbag. I love that. Or alternatively, total contrast, exact opposite of that, taking a very refined look, maybe something buttoned up, maybe collared, maybe even a little bit preppy, and then popping on something very soft and slouchy as a bag with it. Very, very edgy. And gals, last but not least, on the accessories front is mixing your metals. And so I hear this a lot, you guys, and this is just something I want to nip in the bud because it can actually get in the way of you looking edgy, is when everything is too coordinated. And I know that's a kind of a hard habit to break. And if that's just what you love, then just ignore this. But if you're really wanting to get that cool factor and that edginess in, then start to think of playing around with that and throwing out some old rules that your earrings have to match your necklace, have to match the hardware on your belt, the hardware on your purse, and maybe even the clasps on your shoes. It does not all have to match. It's totally fine if it doesn't. It should complement, but complementary doesn't always mean matching. So I'm just gonna give you a super simple example. Let's take an earring like these beautiful ones here from Restrung, and they're made with recycled guitar strings. They're on the thin gold wire here. Really, really love those. And let's say you want to pop a bracelet on just to complement your look. Does your bracelet need to have gold in it? Of course not. So I might do something like this really cool Western bracelet here with the silver concho on it. Let's see if you guys can see that. And you've got that, and you've got the earrings, and they're beautifully complementary, but they are definitely not matching and definitely not formulaic. So gals, if you are ready for a little upgrade in the way that you look and the way that you dress, and you just want to again add in that cool factor and need a little bit of a manual for how to do it, I hope this helped. I am always here to help you in person, and you're welcome to email me anytime at lisa@shopchillstyle.com. If you need some cool pieces to add into your wardrobe, make sure to come visit us in person in Fountain Hills, or jump online to www.shopchillstyle.com. If you guys like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. I love that. It's very encouraging, helps me know that these are the kind of videos that you like. And of course, jump on and subscribe to Zero Waste Closet. That way you get notifications whenever new videos come out. I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.